I always begin with desire lines, meaning I always begin with the paths that were worn down in my brain from shortcuts through them. Places that I retread, find the questions I want to answer, looking for the keys on the common at dusk, prying open the pelican beak, the muddied grass where I cut the corner, like everyone here, to gift a few delicious seconds back to myself. My name is Roma Havers, poet, theatre maker, occasional go-go dancer, and this is a book. It's a poetry book, and I'm taking it fairly seriously. I mean, I've been working on it for nearly 10 years. This is my first book. And like most first books, it spans the greatest time, as in everything up to now. There are, of course, a lot of poems that I left out on other routes, and what's left feels to me like a relief map or desire line, somewhere between the path of least resistance and the natural way. On the blurb of this book, it says, "We're trying the natural way," Havers once said when asked about children in their queer partnership. And that's true. It is a lesbian immaculate conception joke, but as with many other parts of this book, I like to take the joke seriously. The natural way, a synonym of sorts for a desire line, encapsulates the questions that I want to get in the muck of here. What does it mean to give a path a name? What are our kinds of making? What does it mean to call things natural, to be in nature? How do we recover from the future? What do we inherit? In the natural way, queer origin stories necessitate new relationships to beginnings, to horizons. I hope to approach queerness in these poems as the city, as mountains, as glass, as all that we do and don't call natural, ways of doing and going. To me, language and form are not just methods to approach this question, but they are the brick and mortar of the question and the answer, a flirtatious testing of line, to make those lines of limitation possible in order to see where we're pressing at the wall, where the damp gets in. I think of poems as places with visible endings and beginnings, horizons in a way, fantasies of containment. I come from a family that loves the word graft, and so do I, but for its many meanings, not just hard work, and for its far, far too heavy, far too obvious rhyme with craft. Graft as work, as production, as a question of how we choose to value what we do, the impossibility of avoiding power, and the way that our bodies are undeniably there. These poems tried to find relief in the untangling, the serious fun of wordplay, and find something quite true. A poem is a rendezvous where I'll clandestinely meet with you. The fantasy of the impossible wind falling in love with the rock and its very real erosion. I often speak to a you in these poems, as if both the you of you, but also a communal collective you, as much in the poem as any of the words, and certainly as much as I. You don't have to answer, but I do mean it. You're in on the joke. Take your own desire line through. Put your fingers in the butter of my poems. And I'm going to read one poem from the collection. This is The Photographer's Organ. Back when I had to wait another 100 years to live, I believed in the end of time. How an ocean rig believes in the cresting air. How a scurry in the chest believes in feet enough to carry the blood there. How a needle submits to entering. How oil believes itself separate from water. How the photographer believes in stills. How you ask my name because you believe in knowing. How a pipe believes in being filled. How a woodpecker believes in the worthwhile. how an hourglass believes in cartwheels, how this is not what they meant when they gave me a memorable naming, how your last years were a series of split ends, how future believes in the trunk more than the roots, the branch more than the trunk, the bud more than the branch, the seed more than the bud, the sun more than anything. Back when I had waited 100 years to live, I loved the future like how a belief believes there are no synonyms, how words believe they are worth becoming, how I believes in missing articles, how time is the photographer's organ that must believe in the body before it can be put to work, like how the end of time is at the beginning of things.